We are back with our content of the day. Now, we already did a couple of articles on this topic, and unfortunately we have to do another article because there have been some updates. I'm not particularly happy about it, but that's how it goes. All right. Freestyle chess head Jan-Henrik Buettner fires back at FIDE. We are ready for war. German entrepreneur Jan-Henrik Buettner, the head of freestyle chess, has fired back at the International Chess Federation's FIDE threats of legal action, labeling it blackmail and alleging that FIDE demanded $500,000 for the rights to use the World Championship title. He says he's ready to take the case to court. The conflict between FIDE and freestyle chess, which has 5 high-level Chess 960 Fischer Random tournaments scheduled in 2025, is heating up. On Tuesday, the chess world's governing body released a statement threatening legal action if the tour planned to crown a world champion without FIDE's approval. Buettner has now responded in an interview with Norwegian media. I think it's incredibly ridiculous. I could see it coming, so it wasn't surprising, but it is ridiculous nonetheless, he told, or it's ridiculous regardless, he told NRK. Speaking to VG on Sunday, Buettner went even further to say he was surprised at how stupid they were. He is willing to fight the global chess body. We are ready for war, he said, but if FIDE is ready for some sense, we are ready to speak to them. So, it's pretty clear now that I spoke about this before. I said that FIDE wanted money, and now it's been confirmed here that FIDE demanded $500,000 for freestyle to crown a quote-unquote world champion. And this is important because when it talks about like going to court or those things, FIDE does not own the IP over World Chess Championship, and it sounds to me like that is why Buettner does not want to basically pay them, because they're trying to claim they essentially have IP over something they don't, and that's what this is all about, really. So it says, speaking of VG on Sunday, Buettner went even further. Okay, we read that part. It says, we are ready for war. Okay, here we go. FIDE has been firmly against freestyle chess crowning an official world champion. They argue the contracts players have already signed prohibits them from participating in unsanctioned world championships. FIDE defends these rules as necessary to maintain the integrity of sport, ensuring consistency and credibility in the championship system. Now, there's one big problem here with the whole, there are a couple of problems here, but the first big problem with this is that FIDE's standpoint of saying they're trying to protect the game or world championships, the fact is FIDE does not organize Fischer Random events. They have not held a Fischer Random World Championship for more than 2 years. So you have someone coming in wanting to organize this. This is outside of classical chess. And this is really the crux of the issue. It sounds like for FIDE, they're trying to claim they have the right over they have IP, an idiotic position. That's a good one. Is that FIDE is trying to claim they have control over everything. And Buettner and Freestyle are trying to say that they do not. Now, full disclaimer again, as I said in my previous video, I'll say it here, is that I do not have some stake or any position in freestyle chess. The reason that I support what they're trying to do is because I think it's very good for the players to have more opportunities to play big tournaments with big prize funds. I think that if freestyle is successful, that will give players the opportunity to play in even more events than they currently have, and that can only be good for the game. It's also abundantly clear with FIDE, they really don't like it when people organize events which they have no say in. They want to have their hands in everything. They want to have a grip on everything, and they're simply unable to deal with the fact that someone wants to organize these big tournaments without FIDE having any say. So, all right, moving forward, here we go. Buettner disagrees, telling VG they can't copyright it. Everyone can organize it, and they know they can't stop us. He told NRK, you cannot abuse a dominating market position and blackmail people. That's against the law. The German suggests that FIDE, with its headquarters in Lausanne, would be violating Swiss law. Okay, so basically saying that you can't say give us money over something we don't own, or else we're going to go to war with you. Hands in all pies, along those lines. Yes, along those lines. So, Freestyle Chess was founded by Buettner and GM Magnus Carlsen, and the duo raised $12 million for the ambitious Grand Slam project. With a hefty $750,000 prize fund per event, which is intended to grow to $1 million, they want to revolutionize the world of chess with a new Chess 960 tour and make it sustainable. FIDE could not find an organizer for World Championships in 2023 and 2024, and last held one in 2022. So, this is very relevant as we look at this article, where in my view, the big thing that I would say about this is that if you have tournaments being organized that are separate events where people have a chance to earn more money, it's just good. Honestly, what did FIDE do to get this going or to pay for this? Nothing, but they still want $500K. Well, they're trying to claim that they have control over everything. That's what they're trying to claim, and they do not. I've also said many times in various videos and articles that I've done that that in various things that I've done, I've said very clearly that I just lost my train of thought. I completely lost my train of thought. Yeah, that basically chess is ripe for disruption. So if somebody comes up with a bunch of money and wants to disrupt chess, it's very, very easy to do that. Now, if we're talking about classical chess, that's a different story. But this is freestyle or official random chess, and it is completely separate from regular chess. And that's why this really, in my opinion, does not hold any water whatsoever. Okay, attempts to negotiate with FIDE have been unsuccessful, Buettner said. Freestyle Chess made an offer of $100,000 to use the World Championship title, citing the Dire Straits hit money for nothing. Instead, FIDE demanded $500,000 annually for tournament approval, Buettner told NRK. He has not had any contact with FIDE president Arkady Dvorkovich since December 9th, he said. Now, this is also very important to note here because December 9th is shortly before the not shortly, I guess it's a little bit later, but this is before the World Rapid and Blitz happen. And that's important from the context of what the timing is. Okay, so here's my, they put a statement I said in here. It says, GMHikaru Nakamura, the reigning world champion in the chess variant, echoed Buettner's sentiments during a stream on his channel this week, calling FIDE's statement a direct attack on players. The world number 3 also argued that FIDE does not actually have the exclusive rights to organize a Fischer Random World Championship. Now, this is important too to note, because when we talk about this thing, it is not, when we talk about freestyle and FIDE, you're like, well, they're asking for money, it's some negotiation. FIDE sent a very specific letter to players that they demanded the players sign a waiver that they could play this freestyle event this year, but going forward they basically could not. So FIDE effectively is trying to control the players with this waiver document, and the threat, of course, that if players do not sign this document, that FIDE is simply going to ban everybody and remove them from the rating lists, and that's the threat. So the threat is basically you do this or else. And for the players, it is very much a threat against them, because the players certainly want to have the chance to play every tournament they can. And, you know, with FIDE basically, they seem to view this as a very major threat, or that, you know, this freestyle is going to take over chess. And all I can say about that is that when FIDE tries to say that everything is great, they're clearly not, they're clearly a little bit out of touch with reality. Let's leave it there. So you guys can definitely ask more questions in the chat. I'm paying attention to both the chats right now. And it says, as soon as the top players, this is again my statement. As soon as the top players realize that they have this power, that's when FIDE is in trouble, because then they will understand the sponsors are not going to show up if the players aren't competing, Nakamura said. Adding, if players look at this logically, they will understand that if top players stand together, FIDE will not be able to implement any of this. Stop the war. Well, it's very simple, you guys. It's actually very simple. FIDE should not be making these threats at all. That's all that it comes down to. FIDE seems to feel very vulnerable, like they're in deep trouble, and they desperately need to to control the players, and players can't play what they want to play. That's the bottom line. Because with FIDE, all that FIDE has to do here is be like, you know what, fine, they're organizing their own thing, it's separate from what we're doing, you know, that's fine, and that's how it goes. But FIDE wants money, they want some influence, they want some control, they're unwilling to let a group just organize an event. Now, if the players were free to play these tournaments, play whatever tournaments, whether it's these tournaments, FIDE, etc., whatever it is, that would be completely fine for everybody. But FIDE is basically trying to, they're trying to control the game of chess, and you just can't do that, in my opinion. So we will get to the letter later, and here we go. I'm going to cover Emil's tweet, and then I'll get to the freestyle letter after this as well. Buettner said he believes the FIDE strategy is a poor one that will backfire. I think this will lead to top players being united against them, and it can lead to the whole FIDE organization falling apart. Now, one thing that I will say that is just to be fair to FIDE is, I'm going to be honest, if you are doing anything in chess except trying to play chess professionally, FIDE is actually pretty good for you. If you're, you know, an organization that needs some support with ratings, and you know, you need some support like in Africa or other places, it can be very lucrative. If you're an arbiter trying to go through the certification to become a FIDE arbiter and go to tournaments and make a living in that way, it's very good. So FIDE does some stuff that is legitimately good, but at the top level, and I mean Grandmaster and above, they do nothing for the players. It's really that simple. They organize a handful of tournaments. The money, the big prizes go to a handful of players at the very top, and everybody else gets screwed over. And that's where the whole FIDE is doing a great job, I really do question that in general, because I don't think that's true. So all right, moving forward. Okay, FIDE has assured players taking part of the Freestyle Chess Grand Slam in 2025 that they will not be penalized. However, they also said players who are competing in the 2025-2026 World Championship cycle will be requested to sign an additional contract. Now, I have read this before, and just for posterity, I'm gonna dig it up again. Let me dig it up again, just so I can tell you guys exactly what it was. I'm just trying to find it. Here we go. I'm just gonna pull this up. Okay, I'm gonna pull this up on my other monitor because you of course don't want to leak it. And so very clearly, when they say the additional contract, I will read it out to you very clearly. It says the player is informed and acknowledged that every player participating in the events of the FIDE World Championship cycle made a written commitment not to compete or otherwise participate in any other cycle tournament match establishing a world champion or named as World Chess Championship or in any other similar tournament or event unless such tournament or event is organized by FIDE under the aegis of FIDE within 4 years from the date of completion. So basically what's going on here, this is just the first point, is FIDE is sending this waiver because they know that their previous contracts and the clauses are too broad. They don't cover this sort of stuff. So they're trying to lock the players in by forcing them to sign an additional document. Second point. The player is informed and acknowledged that FIDE agrees as a gesture of goodwill to waive the player above mentioned obligations in relation to Freestyle Chess Tour in 2025. The waiver is of a one-time nature and does not affect all other FIDE rights in any other tournaments in which players may violate the above mentioned obligation of the player. This does not mean that FIDE recognizes any rights for the Freestyle Chess Tour 2025, and FIDE reserves the right to take any legal action in this regard aimed at the organizer of the series. So basically what FIDE is trying to do is trying to say, haha, we're being nice, you can play this year, but you know what, we're going to bring down the hammer and you won't be able to play in any of these events going forward. So they're trying to kill the freestyle tour in its infancy before it even gets going. So let's get to the third point. The player is informed and acknowledged that any violations of the above obligation, point 1, will result in the following sanctions for FIDE. Player will automatically be banned from participation in the classical FIDE World Chess Championship cycle for the period of 4 years, effective from the date when the player started playing the relevant tournament, in violation of his obligations here under or signed the relevant agreement with the other organizers. Okay, and the final bit is the player is informed and acknowledged that FIDE retains the right to unilaterally extend the specified disqualification ban to world championships in rapid and/or blitz formats, as well as supply the ban to relevant rating calculations of the player violating the obligation. So I did want to show you guys that just to be very, very clear. So that's very, very important to note. And let's keep going. So basically back to the article, it says any player will sign this contract. FIDE's contract is simply not good enough, and they're trying to lock people in elsewhere to something that it's just simply not it's simply not, you know, it's not going to work, I guess is the way I would put it. Nobody's going to sign it because at the end of the day, you don't want to sign away your rights to play in any possible event. So this is very, very, very relevant as far as this contract. Okay, and here we go. According to Buhner's FIDE's absurd contract to the deadline of February 3rd, it includes a clause that a player who competes in a world championship not approved by FIDE will be excluded from the cycle for the next 4 years. I don't think any players will sign this ridiculous contract, he said. So this is also the thing. Like, it doesn't, you know, no player is going to want to sign this contract because you don't want to put yourself in this situation. That's the reason it's so ridiculous in many ways. The players are uniting and trying to find something they can agree on. I can't believe how ridiculous these people are, he said about FIDE. Okay, Buhner told VG that they have hired the best lawyers for the players and are actively coordinating with them so they can speak together in one voice. FIDE is trying to push this through before we begin, but we will gather everyone here in Weisenhaus and discuss what we are going to do next. That's why it's a poor strategy by FIDE. I am George Mastrakukis, was FIDE's event coordinator between 2003 and 2018, writing contracts and regulations for World Chess Championships in that period. The experienced arbiter and international organizer was also part of the FIDE legal team during case in the Court of Arbitration for Sports, CAS in Lausanne, but is now an open critic of the chess global body. The Greek responded to FIDE CEO Emil Satovsky's claim in a tweet. We already went through this, but basically he says, since I am the one who actually drafted the relevant part of players' contracts, these contracts clearly refer to chess everywhere, not Fisher Random, not Bughouse, not Backend. So that's one part. And then we have Mastrakukis told chess.com that 80% of that material is still in use by FIDE today. FIDE does not have exclusive rights even for classical chess, as has been proved in the past, he said, referring to the split with separate world championship titles in the 90s and 2000s. FIDE's only rights for classical chess are with players who have signed player contracts from 2006 and onwards, which stipulate that they cannot play in other world chess championships, he said, adding he encouraged the players to be careful with what they sign. FIDE will try to put pressure on players that we will exclude you, and then you go to court, betting that some players might be afraid of the legal costs. This is why it is important for the players to be careful what they sign. They should never sign terms against them that are not explicitly described in the event regulations. Okay. All right. Do I really? I don't. It says. Okay, there's a tweet also from George Master Kukis, which says if the players have not signed a contract for the 2022 Fisher Random event limiting them in any other so-called Fisher Random World Championship, then FIDE's threats are empty and just another Soviet-style attempt to grab cash for rights they do not own. Okay. Next up, we have FIDE has denied the claims, rejecting accusations of blackmail and noting that players voluntarily signed contracts that prohibited participation in unsanctioned world championships. I mean, it's kind of really sad to see, because the fact is FIDE was okay with this happening if they got paid money. And it's because they're not getting paid money that they're really angry and trying to invoke all this. Now, as I said before, there is a clause in the contract, which, as George Master Kukis mentions, is simply not enforceable. That's just the bottom line. It's not enforceable. And I do believe that if you just use common logic, FIDE has to understand that, because of the fact that FIDE is trying to force the players to sign an additional document on top of these contracts. So, such arguments, FIDE argues, are a common practice in sports governance. To maintain the integrity and credibility of championship systems. FIDE also insisted that the opposition of freestyle chess use of world championship is not driven by financial demands, but rather formal recognition of FIDE as the governing body. There was an offer of $100,000 from Freestyle Chess. FIDE's position was clear. Even though we would welcome such contribution to support our social projects, this does not give it the status of a world championship. Okay. I'll skip this because we're going to get to Emil's tweets, and I think they're probably the same. But this is an article by Tarjay. I mean, basically, to sum it up, there's group Freestyle Chess. They want to organize Fisher Random tournaments with big prize funds, try and raise money, and create something sustainable. And because they're calling it, you know, the World Championship, FIDE's getting all angry over it, and they're trying to basically, first they tried asking for money to basically for this group to hold it. They tried asking for a bunch of money, and then when the 500K got rejected, FIDE was like, then they're like, no, now we have to fight them and try to destroy the chess world and create a split. It's more on FIDE creating the split here potentially than on Freestyle Chess, because all FIDE has to do is accept that they don't control everything and let this group organize the tournaments independently, and players can play whatever they want to play, and everything would be completely fine. Literally everything would be completely fine. Now, you could also say that Freestyle could change the name, but the fact of the matter is, you know, it's this tricky situation, because for Freestyle, they probably feel like they don't need to change the name. Why should they change the name? There is no IP over this, and they know there's no IP, and FIDE can't really do a whole lot about it. So it's kind of sad to see the way FIDE is acting here. And it seems to me that, you know, it's not going very well. It's not going very well. So, all right, next up, let me find. Apparently, there's some tweets from Emil. So let's do this one by one. Let me find this. Let me search for. Let's pull this up. Here we go. We have a tweet. I think it's this tweet. It's this tweet. Okay. So let's change this. Or actually, now it's off. But let me adjust it. Okay. There we go. Here we go. Let me pull this out. Pull this down. That's good. Okay, so let's cover this too, because it's important. So this is the first tweet from Emil, which says, this is a response to the freestyle. No, there's a freestyle letter today. This is more. There's this. Then this is a reply to the article, and then there's a tweet from Butner, our Freestyle Chess, I think, which says, when one sees public rhetoric coming from the Freestyle Chess leaders, it becomes clear the project is bound to fail. F you, they are so stupid, horse blank, etc. I love this, by the way, because, you know, one funny thing about this is that people who run organizations and groups, you don't go on social media and cry about it. You actually try to resolve it diplomatically behind the scenes. You don't go and cry on social media about it in any way, shape, or form. So like this, when you have the CEO of a company, you don't see the CEOs of companies. Maybe Elon does it, to be fair, but almost no CEO of like a Fortune 500 company is going to be on Twitter and like yelling at people who are saying things. This already shows a great amount of unprofessionalism from Emil to begin with. So all right. So okay, what do we have? What do we have? We have and why all that? Because you want your private project to be called World Championship instead of finding a way to cooperate as we do with several major organizers to align the calendar as we propose for the benefit of players and fans. So to hype the things up, you start a campaign belittling a classical regular chess, orchestrating media publications and spice it up with personal attacks. That is not how you win hearts or money, and money is by far the main objective for this commercial project. Okay, this is also not the way to appeal to the chess community. You may hire lawyers and try to convince some players to violate the obligations. Again, I mean, I love Emil. He does not realize the obligations. For the millionth time, he keeps trying to pretend that this clause is enforceable. And I would say that at the end of the day, I know it's not enforceable. I've spoken to lawyers myself about this, and it's not enforceable, and he's completely wrong. He just continues to try and spin this in a way that is not true. Don't both parties want the same thing? Criticizing one party for wanting to call their private event the World Championship is hilarious from either side. I mean, the thing is stupid because all FIDE has to do is accept that other people are allowed to organize tournaments, and they don't get their little bribes or kickbacks. And you know, that's just how it goes. You don't control everything, and you never will. That's the bottom line. That's the bottom line. As I see it, it's very simple. It's very, very simple. But then he's trying to say obligations. If the obligations were true, you guys, there would not be an additional waiver that FIDE is trying to force the players to sign. So, but it won't work at large, especially when you have nothing sustainable to offer. And chess players know that FIDE delivers and will keep delivering. Now, you know what really irks me about this bit? You know what really irks me about this bit is Emil is so he's such a clown when it comes to this. And I mean, I don't really like to like say words like that in general, but he's such a clown because the fact is the only reason FIDE is doing so well right now is because of the whole pandemic and the boom that occurred with online chess that, you know, led to the rise of people like myself, Levy, chess.com, chess24 at the time, Magnus. All this stuff that's happened is helping FIDE. All this stuff that FIDE had no involvement with whatsoever is helping FIDE, and they're trying to pretend that they're doing a great job and, like, you know, somehow they've played a role when they haven't played any role in the whole boom. They've played no role at all. And FIDE does not deliver or keep delivering because, as I said before, the fact of the matter is for players who are GMs, they make nothing. You're a 25-50, you don't make any money from FIDE. They organize the Grand Swiss, a couple of people win the top prizes or the World Rapid and Blitz, and that's it. Or the candidates or the World Championship, and that's literally it. And that only applies to maybe the top 10 or 15 players in the world. So the whole, you know, will deliver and keep delivering is just so disingenuous. Okay, and you completely neglect the entire chess society, focusing on a few people's interests, and for the sake go to war demanding your project be called World Championship. I mean, it's a private event. Let them run their event. What's the big deal? You don't control everything, Emil. You know, it's like in chess. You think you're always winning every single game of chess you play, and you aren't actually winning every game of chess. You're not automatically always right just because that's what you believe. All the above, and there's much more, are signs of the attitude that will lead to a failure. FIDE is known for its readiness to be mindful, flexible, and go extra miles towards partners, and especially players, and that was mistaken for weakness. You mean like trying to shake them down for $500,000 or threatening people with a waiver? Excuse me? You're trying to be flexible with the waiver, trying to basically control people's rights and what they can play in the future. You're being flexible when you ask for $500,000. That's not being flexible. That's called just like that's called trying to be a dictator. That's what it's called. I mean, in plain English, you're trying to be a dictator. Okay. I am bigger than FIDE concept did not work even for Fischer and Kasparov, who tried it being reigning world champions while having a real dominance over their rivals at the time. Of course, initially the public may back a superstar versus governing body, and you may learn a couple of naive investors, but that is unsustainable, and we saw many examples of the kind. Now, what's funny about this is that he may be right. It is possible on this, Emil is right, but the world we live in today is a very different world than the world when Fischer broke away, when Fischer basically stopped playing, or when Gary broke away, which is that at the end of the day, you have multiple players who are doing very well now. You have social media, you have people with platforms that they can reach a much bigger audience than they ever could before. So even if he maybe could could be right. It's not quite the same situation. You're not comparing apples to apples here, simply because at the end of the day, whether it's Magnus, whether it's myself, whether it's Fabiano, we have big platforms and we can reach far more people than was ever possible before. Whereas, like, if we go back to Gary's time, he could reach a big audience, but they ran these events like the PCA Intel World Championship. But, you know, social media was not the thing it is today. You didn't have the live streams. You don't have all this coverage and all this content. So it is a different scenario. Now, it is possible that Emil's right and this won't succeed. But I would also argue that I think he could be completely wrong because he acts as though this is all about Magnus. What happens if these events get more and more sponsors, it becomes sustainable and it lasts for many years? That's only going to benefit the players like Gukesh, Ali Rez's of the world, the players who are going to replace Magnus, replace myself. So I think that basically it's just he's trying to spin it, but there's so many little things that he doesn't understand. The other thing that's ironic is you're right. For a period of time, Emil actually ran a players association, but then he became the head of FIDE, and his views and things kind of changed. Not surprising, obviously. It says today FIDE is probably in the best position ever, and chess community sees it. Chess community sees it. This is hilarious, by the way. This, you know, maybe in the East that's true. Maybe you go to Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, you go to Russia or India or some of these places, and you have people who are just going to tell you how great it is. That's one thing, but the reality is that this is simply not true. Most people, far more people in the real world, know about Magnus Carlsen than about Emil or FIDE. That's just the reality. Okay. The chess community sees that we deliver unprecedented number of projects around the world. We keep increasing prizes for top players to support the educational and social programs, and we plan far ahead thanks to our partnerships East and West. We'd love to work with any private project, in particular with ambitious ones. Well, I mean, this end is kind of funny too, because it also says ambitious ones. It's like, yeah, you want your money. You want your cut of everything. That's what you want. But if you want a war, try us. This is the problem, by the way. This is why, actually, I think Emil being the CEO of FIDE is a huge mistake. I think that if Dvorkovich were running this stuff, it would be dealt with very, very differently. But when you have someone like Emil who's basically in charge, he basically wants to fight. He wants it. He wants the war. He wants the fight. He's the one who wants the fight. It's quite simple. Freestyle simply wants to run the events and not have any FIDE involvement. That's the bottom line. So it's quite sad to see. It is really quite sad to see that you have someone who's a CEO saying, try us. I mean, what are you going to do, dude? I mean, what are you going to do? If many lawyers are saying the same thing, even the person with FIDE, who is within FIDE, who wrote the regulation, says something like, I'm sorry, dude, you're probably wrong, even if you think you're right. But maybe we'll find out. Who knows? So now we move on to the next little bit, which is we have this. Let me find it. Freestyle Twitter. Let me find this one. So let me find this one, and we'll keep going. All right. So freestyle Twitter chess. Let me find this one. Okay, here we go. Next bit. Okay, let me find the article. Here's the letter. Okay. Oh wait, now it's off again. Ugh. Okay, so let me adjust the scene just a touch. There we go. And let's read this article. Okay. So here we go with this article. And it says, despite Freestyle's willingness to offer $100,000 annually to FIDE, by the way, this is the other thing they offer. Maybe I should make this bigger. Oh, I can't make this bigger? I can't make it bigger. That's weird. No. Oh, it doesn't work. Okay, whatever. Okay, so it says, despite Freestyle's willingness to offer $100,000 annually to FIDE, purely as a gesture of goodwill and to avoid harassment, this has been rebuffed. FIDE's demands for $500,000, or wait, no, this is the wrong page. Sorry, this isn't the start. No, here we go. This is the start. Sorry, that's the second page. Sorry, here we go. Okay, we start here. It says, an open letter from Jan-Henrik Butner to Emil Satovsky and FIDE. Dear Emil, over the past year, you, Arkady, and FIDE have come a long way. You, from singing opera songs to me over the phone to your request to host the FIDE Chess 960 World Championship in Weizenhaus last year, to Arkady meeting with Henrik and me in London for hours to coordinate tournament schedules, ensuring players wouldn't face conflicting commitments. Now this is like one thing that I love, by the way, or one thing that I wish I possessed the ability to do, but I don't, is like people who find ways to write something that looks really nice and then you just slam them. And it's pretty funny from you singing opera songs to me over the phone. Now, if Emil's watching the stream, he's gonna be really mad at what I'm about to say, but it's well known amongst the top players. Sometimes we have these little jokes, which is like, you know, Emil likes to show off. He likes to go to tournaments, like Gibraltar or other tournaments, and start singing opera. And it's a bit of a joke. I'm not going to say who the players I've spoken to, but some of us we have these jokes amongst ourselves, the top players, and we're always very disappointed when we have to hear Emil sing, because he's not professional level at all. And let's just leave it at that. So it's something that many of us don't like having to see. But Emil thinks he's the best at everything. So okay. Next up we have, however, the collaboration has become increasingly strained. A notable example is Arcadi's invitation for Magnus and Fabiano to play a freestyle chess summit in Singapore, only for us to be stonewalled and ignored upon arrival. It seems FIDE's approach of good cop, Arkady Dvorkovich, bad cop, Emil Satovsky, tactics was bound to fail. Now, FIDE appears to have dropped the pretense entirely, adopting a confrontational stance towards the players. Okay. In my opinion, this shift is counterproductive. Instead of engaging constructively with us, the organizers of the Freestyle Chess Grand Slam Tour, FIDE, has alienated the very players who are the greatest assets. Nonetheless, Freestyle remains open to dialogue and is committed to working collaboratively with FIDE to avoid unnecessary conflict. Okay, let me clarify once again, our tour is not a world championship in the traditional sense, as I have explained to both Arkady and Vichy. It is titled the Freestyle Chess Grand Slam Tour. At the end of each year, we crown a champion in freestyle chess, a format that might evolve in the future, potentially moving beyond Chess 960 to other new formats, but not classical ones. Now, this is the way of freestyle chess basically saying that it's it's not about classical chess. FIDE can have their fiefdom over classical chess, blitz and rapid, but that they are considering other formats. So this is their way of trying to say, you know what, just do classical chess and that's that. Now, for those of you guys who are actually writing, who cares about any of this BS Let's Play Chess, it's a very serious situation, because maybe to you guys you think it's funny, but for those of us who are players who are under these threats of getting banned permanently from FIDE, it's not a laughing matter. And so that's the reason I'm covering this. It's not because I have a stake or anything else. It's because the fact is many of us are under these threats currently, and you might think it's a joke and it's never going to happen, but I don't treat it as some idle joke or something that's not going to happen, because knowing how Emil Satovsky is, knowing how vindictive he can be at times, it is a very serious threat. So when those of you guys are like, why do you care about this, it's because there is a real chance that in about 5 days, like Fabiano, myself, Magnus, and many others could potentially be banned by FIDE. And maybe FIDE would even try to sue us, although that would lead to other counter lawsuits and everything else. But the point is that it is a very serious thing. So when people think it's like, why are you covering this as nonsense? It's not nonsense, because it's a very, very serious issue currently. Very serious issue. So moving forward, in my opinion, the shift is counterproductive. Instead of engaging constructively, we already read that. The title of world champion in this context reflects the unique format of our events, not an attempt to challenge FIDE's traditional world championship cycle. If FIDE's issue truly lies with the use of world championship terminology, I would have to address similar cases, such as the Bughouse World Championship, where even players like Ding Laurent have participated. Yet FIDE has not penalized Ding or others for taking part. This inconsistency reveals the true motive behind FIDE's actions. Money, 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 money. So I'm not gonna play songs, because maybe then I'll get copyrighted, but yeah, so next bit coming up. So let's see. Despite Freestyle's willingness to offer $100,000 annually to FIDE purely as a gesture of goodwill to avoid harassment, this has been rebuffed. FIDE's demand for $500,000, an unjustifiable sum for a format has no involvement in, suggests that monetary gain is the primary driver. Our sponsors, many of whom prefer to avoid association with FIDE altogether, support our decision to remain independent. Yeah, sorry you guys, that wasn't quite opera, I know. Money, 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 money. I can't do it very well, but anyway, so yeah, so even here they offered $100,000 to basically get FIDE to just like ignore them, and FIDE's like, no, we want $500,000 every single year over IP we don't control. And that's just, I mean, it really does symbolize what's going on here. It symbolizes exactly what's going on, and it's really disappointing. FIDE's recent actions, such as threatening players with sanctions and demanding they sign agreements under undue pressure and without legal counsel, are deeply troubling. This is neither ethical nor professional. FIDE is attempting to exploit its dominant market position to strong-arm players into submission. Such tactics are unacceptable, and Freestyle will continue to defend the player's interest against these abuses of power. Well, I assume they offered 100K because I thought, you know what, here's our token offer, you know, and you guys can take it. And then they're like, then FIDE's like, no. And then it really just, it speaks volumes of what's going on. So to summarize, Freestyle is not competing with FIDE, nor does it claim to be bigger than FIDE. FIDE does not own the rights to all chess related activities, nor does it hold exclusive authority over the word world. Freestyle seeks peace, not conflict. We are still willing to contribute $50,000 annually to ensure the players are left undisturbed. So basically, Freestyle is like, you know what? We really don't like you guys, but in order for everybody not to have to waste a ton of money on legal fees, we'll give you 50 grand a year for this. Now, FIDE wanted 500 grand, and so I love this too, because it's like they went from 100 down to 50. It's like, I really like it. It's this is like you know, high level negotiating. It's like, we offered you 100, you missed it, we go down to 50. Oh, I skipped a contract. Okay. Okay. Contrary to FIDE's approach, Freestyle prioritizes players. This is why we retain legal counsel to protect them from FIDE's overreach. No players violate their obligations. Instead, FIDE is the party acting improperly. Freestyle's focus remains on creating a positive environment for players, allowing them to concentrate on their games without the burden of unnecessary political interference. Yeah, 50K is like, it's like the troll. It's like, it's like, I feel like I've seen this in like a show or something. It's like, here's the money. This one's like, no, and you're like, okay, now it's 50. And it's like, okay, well, if you don't take that, then you're getting 0. But if FIDE continues this harassment, Freestyle will stand firm in defending the players to the fullest extent. Rather than escalating the situation, I urge FIDE to return to the table and engage in constructive discussions. Harassing, threatening, or sanctioning players is not only counterproductive, but also undermines the principles of fair competition and respect for the chess community. I remain available for a conversation with you or Arkady at any time. So, all right, so that's the article. I think there's one more tweet from Emil that we're going to cover. He put some other tweet. Let me see. There's some other tweet here, so let me adjust the scene one more time because I just had to copy it. All right, to crop it a little bit. There we go. Okay, so one last little bit that we're going to cover in terms of this article, which is, I spoke several times with Mr. Buettner. This is the new tweet, by the way. And always expressed my positive feelings about the project. First time, it was a 2-hour call right after their debut event. It was more than friendly, and we started to look for ways to cooperate, although he candidly mentioned we don't need FIDE on this project and we don't need to call it a world championship. Still, I was very positive about new ambitious person in the chess world. Publicly praising Jan-Henrik Buettner, mentioning in my interviews, a rising tide lifts all the boats. Happy about more promotion for chess, more opportunities for players, okay? And then we had another conversation and another one. For several months, we discussed possible cooperation, implementation of FIDE ratings for 960, qualification, challenge and staging more events. Nobody wants to put any money into it. And the only thing the Indians offered was a discounted price in a hotel. The aligning of the calendar in 2025, I candidly shared the info and readily provided advices when asked. Nothing was about naming it the World Championship. Now, this is funny, by the way, because this, you know, this also thinking of things like this reminds me of, like, I feel like things I've seen in business over the years where it's like, you know, someone calls something different, like you call something you were told you weren't doing, or, you know, someone steals your business idea and then they run with it, you know, these sorts of things. Like this is like, this happens all the time in the business world and there's nothing you can do about it. It feels like Emil's trying to think that, like, this is so morally wrong or so outrageous, like, because at the time they didn't want to call it that. For example, the sponsors of Freestyle Chess might have been like, you know what, let's call it the Freestyle World Championship. And if the sponsors want to call it that and it's legal, then of course, what's wrong with that? Times change. People's opinions change of these things. There's nothing you can do about that. That's the reality. Even if it wasn't discussed at the time. Nothing was about naming the World Championship. We don't need it. We are not FIDE, who needs to care about everyone. We will have our tour with all the best, fair enough, and still a lot of room to cooperate. But then something has changed. We may only guess what or who impacted it. Oh, this is Emil trying to go after Magnus. But then something changed. We may only guess what or who impacted it. Oh, this is such an obvious shot at Magnus. This has to be about Magnus. I don't think it's about me. I'd be very surprised, but I'm pretty sure this is about Magnus. And then Freestyle Chess decided to ride on the publicity and budget of the FIDE World Championship in Singapore. And the publications in the major media were organized on the eve of the championship, directly attacking both the match and classical regular chess. I don't know about you guys, but having followed it, I could have sworn I could have sworn that I did not see much about the freestyle thing. Like, if you weren't watching my stream of the event or you weren't following the chess.com news articles, I don't recall seeing anything major. I mean, there was like a Wall Street Journal article like a while before it, I think, but I don't think there was anything major. So I'm a little bit confused by the statement. I think this is twisting it, because I definitely didn't see any, like, I didn't see anything major in publications about like this competing world championship or anything. So okay, let me take a sip of water. Okay. And they set up the press conference in Singapore on the same day as the opening ceremony of the match. And suddenly, instead of just having a freestyle tour Grand Slam, all of a sudden, World Championship popped up. Since then, it got bitter and bitter. I'm still puzzled about this change in attitude. Well, the simple answer, this is my view. I don't know this for a fact, but my general view is that probably what happened is they were able to raise money from some independent groups, and these groups wanted to call it the World Championship. They probably saw that FIDE doesn't have the IP over the World Championship. They thought, if you call it World Championship, we're funding this tour with $12 million. We want to try and make our money. The best branding name you can have is having someone at the end of the season being crowned as a world champion. I think that's probably what happened. I don't know that, but that's my assumption, is that when they got their big sponsor for $12 million, sponsor probably thought, okay, what's the best branding name? What are we going to call this? How's all this stuff going to work? That's what happened. Or at least that's my view. I don't know this for a fact. This I don't have any insider info on, but I suspect that's what happened. Okay. And then it says, I'm still puzzled about this change in attitude. Why, instead of peacefully running your series, one starts a battle, or why, instead of peacefully running your series, one starts a battle of this kind, aiming to split the chess community? This is also very disingenuous too. Like, this hardly splits the chess community. They want to run their event separate of FIDE, and that's life. That's all they want to do. They want to run their event separate of FIDE. That's all they want to do. And FIDE can't handle it because they're not getting a cut of it. They need their cut of it. They think they're like they think they're a government or something, or the IRS. Like they think they deserve a cut of everything. They don't control chess. They never have, and they never will. And so that's all, in my view, that's all this is really about, is that it's like FIDE wants the money. They're not getting the money, so they're really hurt by that. And that's when it's like, okay, now we're going to go and start fighting against them because we aren't getting our money. They're going to call it something. We don't have the IP, and that's just what it is. FIDE doesn't have any leverage other than to threaten the players that they'll ban them. That's the only leverage FIDE has in reality. So yeah, exactly. And so I also don't think this is splitting the chess community. I think this is FIDE's fault. I think FIDE is trying to split the chess community themselves by not letting the players play in all the events they want to play. That's my view. I think this is on FIDE trying to split the community, because I don't see what if people playing freestyle, they're going to still be playing FIDE events. I mean, they're still going to be playing FIDE events. They're still going to play like the Canadas. They're still going to play the World Rapid and Blitz. So exactly how is freestyle trying to split the chess community? It's all on FIDE. FIDE is the one that are trying to split the chess community by all these threats. And that's when FIDE does that, then the players have to make a decision, and that's where you get the split, and people end up playing one and not the other. So, or is it the realization that the World Championship sells better, an attempt to prove that this is the World Championship? If so, that won't work. But FIDE doesn't have the IP on World Championship. Everybody knows this. I mean, everybody and their brother knows this. So I mean, it's like again, just going around in circles here. Yeah, I don't think the chess community cares at all either. I think all the chess community wants to see is they want to see Magnus Carlsen play. They want to see me play. They want to see Fabiano play. They want to see Gukesh play. Like, the chess community doesn't care. They just want to see games. And FIDE thinking this some big fight, and you're gonna get everybody to support FIDE. Like, that's just not how it works. It's not how it works at all. So FIDE was always open for dialogue. Yeah, if you get money, but we have our obligations towards the entire chess community, and we will fulfill them. Yeah. If FIDE does not have the IP, then why is freestyle not using the term? Oh, I'm sure they could, but they don't. I mean, their idea is they crown a world championship champion at the end of the tour. So yeah, this is really, yeah, it's kind of sad to see this, actually, because I feel like the damage that Emil is potentially causing is this could totally be avoided by FIDE. If FIDE weren't so busy, desperately needing that 500k, this could be very easily avoided. But now we're in a situation where this could turn into something that's very serious, and the chess world could become completely split. I just read this tweet. This is the last tweet from Emil. There might be another tweet. I don't know. I don't really want to cover it either way, but it's definitely disappointing to see this. And I view it more as it's that this is on FIDE's end than freestyle. Yes, freestyle could just not call someone a world champion, but I think at this point they know that FIDE doesn't have the IP, and they're like, okay, what is this nonsense? Like, they don't have any legal claims, so let's fight it. That's my view. So, we'll see what happens. I also think, broadly speaking, this is only going to generate more interest for freestyle, ironically, because FIDE is making this massive issue instead of just letting freestyle organize their events quietly. So I don't know if there was a response to the letter, but no, this was the response to the letter from Buettner that was on Twitter earlier. I mean, maybe there's a new tweet, I don't know, but no, this is the last tweet. This is the last tweet from Emil. I know now it's off, but anyway, this is the last tweet. So it is what it is. I mean, it's just definitely crazy. It's crazy. And I think it's sad. And for anybody who's wondering, like, why am I covering this? Why am I talking about it again? It's because it's a very real threat. I think anybody who thinks it's some kind of joke, it's not a joke. The players are currently under threat. Like, as of right now, players like Fabiano or myself or others, we don't know. We could be banned by FIDE on February 3rd. There's a chance. Now, do I think it's going to happen? No, I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's a situation where it's a game of poker, and FIDE is running their semi bluff, and they've been called, and so it's not going to actually happen. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong on that, obviously. And I think there's probably like a 20% chance that come February 3rd, like a bunch of us are banned by FIDE. So I don't really think that this is just a nothing burger. It's inconsequential, especially knowing how Emil is and the way he thinks about certain things. I really don't think it's a nothing burger. So for anybody who's like annoyed that I covered again, I apologize. But it is a very serious topic, and I think it's important that people are aware of what is going on. And just to wrap it up with one last little thought, again, I don't have any stake in the freestyle thing. That's a Magnus Buettner thing. But I think players having a chance to play for a $200,000 grand prize in a tournament is a good thing. And the more opportunities to play for bigger prizes the top players have, the better it is. Also, I would say that it's old world thinking about how something's going to fail, nothing can work, don't change anything, which is what specifically prevents chess from growing bigger. And I think even for me, I look at streaming as a good example of the chess mindset. How when you look at streaming, like when I started doing it in 2019, everybody and their brother was laughing at me. Everybody and their brother thought this is a big joke. He's wasting his time. He's not studying chess 10 hours a day like he should be. It's stupid. It's going to be a failure. It's the same mindset about thinking that things are going to fail or people shouldn't be trying to do new things. That is exactly why chess is not moving forward, because everybody looks at it in the here and now versus thinking about the long term, which is ironic, of course, because when you think about chess, we think about how great chess players are strategically. It's all about the long term planning, strategy, all these great keywords. But at the end of the day, the reason that chess does not move forward is because nobody does think bigger outside the box. Everybody just assumes what's going on now is good, and that's it. And you don't want to take these chances. You don't want to take these risks. And I think with freestyle, maybe it'll fail. You never know. It very easily could. But if it succeeds, it's going to be something that is going to help the top players far beyond what either Magnus or I am doing. In terms of chess, it will last far beyond both of us, and that will benefit the next generation, the top players from the next generation. So anyway, you guys, that's my little bit. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, make sure that you smash that subscribe button below, and we'll keep on rolling.